Hey everybody, it's Mad Master here. I'm doing a video today, and this is kind of something I've been thinking about for a long time regarding things in the world and things in life. And uh, I will be talking about some things in this video that do relate to the current crisis, but it's more of a broad scope and view about everything that's going on in the world, and the macrocosm and the microcosm included. So recently I've talked about some friends that have stopped talking to me because of arguments over certain current events and crises that we're in. And I also mentioned, I also talk about my job and how I hate it, and people are so negative and stuff. So I just started thinking about all this stuff, and tied into that is how people are wishing for people's death on Twitter, that don't want to do a certain thing, or are scared about doing a certain thing, calling them stupid and talking about different horse stuff or whatever. People are saying all this crazy stuff. So I just thought about this for a while, and this is something I've thought about I haven't thought about in a long time, I should say. I was going to say I've thought about it for a long time. I have thought about it for a long time, but I haven't thought about it in a long time. And that's just the whole concept of our psychology and how we lash out and project our own, perceived failures or insecurities on other people, or in other words, hurt people, as has been said. It's a kind of a phrase that people say. And let's give you an example of this. I think the less successful someone is in life, a lot of the time, if they're really insecure in general, some people can get by with, having minimal material things, or, just working some job or something like that. And that's fine if they're happy and uplifted by that. Now, if they're unhappy and pissed off about things in their life, they're going to push it out into the reality that they're in other ways. And to me, that includes politics, includes anything like that. If they're a manager of people, they'll push it out on that way. I remember this manager I had at Walgreens once, and this other manager or representative said to something, oh, she has a toxic personality or something like that, like about the manager. And just like, I don't think a person who is super negative towards other people, misanthropic, like for example, is going to be the happiest person to begin with. And that's my whole point of this video. It's not, one of the things about like LaVey, Anton LaVey, that I always questioned was, is there really a purpose in doing a curse on someone when people curse themselves? They curse themselves with their hubris towards reality in the world. And I've been a victim of that myself, towards myself. They curse themselves with their mental patterns or mental thoughts. So we talk about these people that shame people for having different choices than they do, or are just really down on a group of people. There's a certain amount of misanthropy that comes through on the left. I grew up with some of that. There's always the otherisms of people that I've seen. You could say the right wing is more about otherisms, about things that people can't help, like ethnic descent or, certain things like that. But on the left, there's plenty of othering people too. Oh, they don't believe the way I do. They're evil. They're terrible. Or they're richer than me. Those yuppies. It's always an otherism. Of these situations, that putting down other people for being different in some way, where you can argue at the end of the day, is a rich or a person that grew up rich, that's what they're used to, are they any less indoctrinated than someone that just grew up in the ghetto and was poor, and they're a victim of society, whatever? We're all victims of whatever circumstance that we're in, and we're indoctrinated into these things and these beliefs and these ideas. So othering anybody for any reason is foolish, in my opinion. try to understand other people, try to understand their motivations, and try to understand where they're coming from, and try to empathize, sympathize, and try to come to some common ground. That's a different belief altogether than what people have nowadays. So I've known some of my friends have been very far left, as I have been, but there's also this stain of misanthropy with them. You know, I've attracted a lot of introverted friends over the years, because to some extent I'm introverted, but oftentimes there's that package deal where they hate people, or they hate a certain amount of people. They hate themselves too, or they try, oh, I hate my life, I hate myself, So a lot of these people, so extrapolating that across political spectrums and paradigms, you can see that there's a lot of fucked up people out there that are, being in this like current crisis, calling for people's deaths and saying, oh, they shouldn't be treated at a hospital, oh, if they haven't done the special thing, all this stuff, and all these hateful, terrible people that are just going towards this otherizing people for their own, their own lack of self-worth that they feel. And when it happens on a massive consciousness level, that's when you have to watch out. That's why, even though maybe it's hyperbolic at this point to say this, but people have compared it to, Nazism, some of this stuff, some of this like, and apartheid and segregation. I don't think it's actually, if you look at the science itself, and I'm not going to make any claims in this video, I'm not making any claims. There's no valid reason for othering these people other than what they're making choices for themselves towards. There is really none. I'm not going to go into that in this video, because that's definitely a verboten subject on YouTube. But if you look at the numbers, you look at the stuff, what I'm talking about, there definitely is a otherizing, or as far as the science, there's no real, I don't think there, it depends on what you mean, of course, there's definitions, but I don't think that these people that don't do this certain thing pose that much of a risk to people that already did this thing. Otherwise, what is the worth of the thing in the first place, getting the thing done, if it's not going to save you from people that don't get the thing done? Doesn't that basic common sense, whatever happened to that? So, without saying what I'm talking about, because, man, I've gotten good at code at this on YouTube now. I think otherizing people is something I've done a lot. I grew up in high school, and I just said, oh, those preppy idiots, I hate them, I wish I could just kill everybody, yeah. I've been that misanthrope, I've been that self-hateful misanthrope, and, alternating suicidal thoughts with homicide, maybe not homicidal thoughts. The thing about me that makes me different than a lot of people that I've known is like, I'd rather like embarrass people and have them like feel shame and have a shitty life rather than die like my enemies and stuff. And I've always hoped for that secretly, but having that much hate though, what does that do to a person? What is this, the end result of all this hate that people have towards each other? All this division, all this rancor, what is the end result? And and that made me realize in my life, I've attracted to some really hateful people. Now, some of the hateful people, some of my friends are extremely hateful, but they try to not to like delve in it too much, Other people are really affected. Other friends are really affected by it, and some people are rebellious. I have a friend that's just rebellious in general. Maybe he's misanthropic to some extent, but at least he has a smile on his face doing it, and there's this smiley face, doing it. But there's other people that just delve in their self-hatred and insecurities and misanthropy so much, it's disgusting to be around. But I've learned that was me. That was me for years. Around to like 2006 through 2009, I started to discover all this other stuff that I'm still exploring, self-help and, a lot of different things. And it's like, I've realized that maybe I outgrew being that type of person anymore. I still have the remnants of it, and I still am trying to struggle out of it. But I still, that kind of hatred and you know, a lot of the time, like the whole political thing, I thought like for example, Republicans, I was like they're evil, terrible people, greedy and selfish pigs. Even the factory worker, that's a Republican, or the poor person, they're all a bunch of country bumpkin yokels. And I used to have these stereotypes in my head about that, and really it's not true. Disagree on, look, my father had, he was always like, well, we just disagree on things, we just disagree on this. I didn't really understand that concept until recently. It took maturity as an adult to actually know that is the way that things should be around with people. So he has friends that are Republican. He lives in a very red region. He's not a Republican. So it's like, you realize these things, and you have these hateful people, all your friends, and they're just oh my God, I wish I could kill. There's friends of mine that they're just like, oh, I wish I was. Oh, I don't even want to talk about it. It just makes me want to kill myself or kill other people. It's like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, I attracted this into my life. Well, yeah, I did at some point. Because growing up, that's the way I was, and that's the friends that I attracted in my life. But I realize now that, the misanthropy and the hatred, of certain people, it's just not gonna. They're already dooming themselves by living in that fear and that hate. So, anytime you see someone online, like especially online, like when they're, I don't know, I'm going to give you, a little bit of, these people that are, I'm trying not to talk too much about the current crisis we're in, but people that are really attached to that and really have like a vested belief in that, as far as going after other people for not following certain things, unless they're a hypocrite, which I fully support that. I fully support going after people for being hypocrites. I don't care. That's one thing I will not waver on, by the way. But some people have just gone way too far into nutty territory about everything, with everything. But oftentimes that's just because a lot of times it's their self-esteem and belief in themselves. Secure people, really super secure people, are not going to bash on other people in the way they do. They're not going to do that. And unless you're like a sociopathic weirdo, they're not going to, I don't think you're going to do that. And I've noticed that people that are really fucked up are the most ardent, whatever political thing that they're in, and whatever position they're in. And I'm not saying like mentally healthy people are all moderates. I'm just saying, as far as their approach to politics, it's probably different as well. It's not necessarily what you believe in. You might believe in this or that, but authoritarian people that believe in authoritarianism of whatever stripe it is, which does go both ways, and in this current crisis it's definitely one way. One way, pretty much, other than the abortion thing, which is from the right, of course. That unless, everything else is from the left pretty much lately. So I'm talking about politics, but those tendencies, that I think it's because people have fear of loss of control over themselves, over their life. So they look to, ideologues, whether it be Trump or Fauci or whoever, or they look to, authority figures, or they think they should be the authority figure to, mandate everything that people do in their personal lives or their lives in general. So it's just a very complicated thing that I'm talking about here. But the psychology, I think people miss the psychology, and I think I've missed it for many years. I didn't really understand this until a couple of days ago. I just started thinking about this, and I think people that are really hurtful towards others are hurt themselves. They're lashing out because they are hurt. You know, even like my one of my ex-girlfriends that dumped me. It's like, well, wow, you know, she's really lived a life and she's hurting other people, right? That's what she did to me. She hurt me, you know, because she's hurt. You know, hurt people hurt people. So, yeah, and that's something to consider, you know. But one thing to consider about that, and one thing why I'm bringing this up is that I think that at the end of the day, people that you can be mad at these people for hurting you, but you know, most people are habit creatures of a habit. So you could say, oh my God, they're so bad. Oh, I put them on this pedestal, this friend of mine or ex-girlfriend or whatever. Oh my God, they're so great. They're going to be so happily forever after, you know, even though we're not friends or together anymore, they're going to be happy. They're going to be so satisfied and so stable. No. The reason why they hurt you in the first place is because they're pretty fucked up in the head a lot of the time. So they're going to hurt some other people, and they'll be even more worse off, you know. It's like, it's kind of funny because I saw one of my exes I keep bumping into my ex on Tinder, and I'm like, you know, part of that's like, well, I don't know if I should be happy to see that or sad for her. You know, it's like, I guess I'm kind of sad for her, but at the same time, it's like, it does give me inner satisfaction. Because if she would have just gotten married and had some happy life after me, I would have been more pissed. That's why living well is the best revenge. You know, that's why that to me, that's the best thing to do. So those are just some thoughts on that. So I don't think we should, you know, I think we should always look out and think, well, hey, this person is abusive, asshole, whatever. They're going to piss off the wrong person and get their ass whooped or whatever, you know? I mean, or get killed. Hey, you know, or an overdose or whatever, you know? Whichever way, if the person that fucked you over or people that fuck you over are going to curse themselves. They're already fucked up, you know? They're so fucked up, and a lot of people are so fucked up, they're only going to hurt themselves in the end. Maybe right now they're thriving, right? Some person that fucked you over, right? If you're watching this video, someone fucked you over. They're thriving right now, right? Oh yeah, Oh, give it a year or two, you can look back and see, you know, it's just like, oh, well, I'm living a better life than them now, you know, by being a positive person, you know, trying not to be so negative. I mean, I'm being negative right now about that, but you know, it's like, it's kind of a paradox, right? So, but someone sent me a friend request. Who was that? It was some fake. Anyways, that's about all.